All
I'm gonna
right.
go real royal
We
conspiracies.
we are live. We are live. Welcome to welcome to Westminster Abbey talk. I mean, welcome to the left wing, and we are live with our guest Cannon's fodder, and we were just talking amongst ourselves, commiserating as we do, and we landed on the topic of the British royal family because I'd only seen a couple of stories about it here and there. I didn't know what was going on with Kate Middleton. Then I found out earlier this week that no one has seen her or the kids, I think, in
The
months.
kids too, yeah, they're
I gotta
gone.
tell you, very funny. I don't know what's going on. I have no clue. I only moderately care, but I am interested because that's pretty weird. And no matter what turns out, I'm going to be entertained. But our guest has a conspiracy theory or a solid theory. I'm not sure which way this is going to go, but I
It
can't wait
could
to
go
hear it.
either way. If you can see the shit-eating grin on my face as I'm about to tell this story. So to give some backgrounds, because I don't know how much of our audiences cross over, but I am British by like everything. Like my parents were born and raised in Liverpool, England. I am
Oh,
the first one shat out outside of that island. Okay, so like when I say I'm British, I am British. Like I cooked in Liverpool, they shat me out in Canada. Like it just, I'm the Commonwealth is me. And my mother, of course, was obsessed with Lady Di growing up. Okay. So this is just, giving some context. So why am I so obsessed with royal conspiracies? Because the way my mother found out Princess Diana died has just forever been placed in my mind as the funniest thing that has ever happened in the world. Okay. Now, to be fair, if you have to remember like the love affair of Lady Di in the 90s, like the plates, the cups, the t-shirts, the sweaters, the tabloids, the everything. My mom is the quintessential British lady with doilies and Lady Di plates. She had it all. She loved Lady Di. To this day, she's like, she should have been the queen. She refers to Camilla as that cow. Okay. Like she has feelings on Lady Di. Okay. So she loves this woman. Now, she went over to England to visit my Aunt Christine, her sister, and we were us three kids home with my dad. That was the week that Lady Di was
oh my
dead.
God.
Okay, so this is the scenario that we're dealing with. So my mother is across the ocean with her sister, has left her three children with her husband, who just any woman who has a husband can like realize like the fear of God when you leave your children unsupervised with your husband, let alone in a foreign country, right? Now, because the accident happened in the middle of the night, she was asleep in England when the car accident occurred. But we over here in America, it's like 8:30 at night. So it just breaking news. Lady Di is dead. John just started smiling so he can see where this story is going because it's about to get fucking hilarious. So we are all sitting in the living room. My dad sees the story. He goes, "Oh, your mother's going to be heartbroken. I'm going to give her a call. What time is it in England? It's 1:00 in the morning. It's fine. I'll give her a call. It'll be fine." So he calls my mother from Florida at 1:00 in the morning.
Oh no.
Christine, that's my dog barking at the Amazon guy. My aunt Christine answers the phone and he says, "Christine, is Susan there?" She's like, "It's 1:00 in the morning, Stephen. What's the matter?" And he goes, "I need to tell her. You'll never guess who's dead."
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
So Christine, because if you knew my Aunt Christine, she's just flapping you crazy. Susan, waking her up. "Stephen's on the phone. Someone's dead."
Wow! Oh my God!
So she gets up in a panic. She's left her children with her husband. This is her worst nightmare coming to life. Bear in mind, my mother loves Princess Diana. Okay, loves Princess Diana. She gets on the phone. She's damn near in tears. "Stephen, what happened? Who's dead?" He goes, "Lady Di. She died in a crash." And my mother's response to hearing that this woman she has adored for decades is dead was, "Oh, thank God."
Yeah, look. That's a great way to soften the blow. I got to tell you. If you're going to, it could be worse. It could be worse. It could be a family member, So
she's so British and so Catholic that she feels so bad about it to this day. She feels incredibly guilty that she responded to the death of Lady Di with "thank God."
oh yeah, she should feel. Well,
I know.
I know it is funny though. That is pretty
so
humorous.
funny.
That
it's
that
so
is
funny.
That wow, they just let anyone be a husband. Apparently, holy shit, man! I can't believe. Guess who's dead? Someone you're calling in the middle of the night. Wow, that is yikes. Oh, Jesus Christ.
You'll never guess who's dead. I know.
That's
oh my God.
crazy.
If it wasn't in the middle of the night, like I would understand. I would also say, yo, guess who's dead? Princess Diana. It's pretty casual. Why would you assume it's a child? But like 1 in the morning, that's
yeah.
1 in the morning with 3 teenage children, all with new driver's licenses in South Florida. Like it could have gone.
Yeah,
My
I
father.
always told people, like, if a major emergency like that happens and it's the middle of the night, I get a phone call in the middle of the night, I assume the worst. So just wait until the morning. And
Just
so
wait till the
only
morning.
call me in the middle of the night if someone is dying, not dead.
Not
dying. Dead. I
They'll
give a
be
shit
dead in the
about.
morning.
Exactly. Yeah, dead. That
They'll
can
be
wait
dead in the
until after breakfast. But dying, okay, I can get there. I can say my goodbyes and everything. But dead, we can move on. So, folks, if you'd like to hear more content about the British royal family or anyone's family, let us know in the comments. We'll see what we can do. But
this is why I'm obsessed with the Kate Middleton thing because of this. Because woof. Oh my God, this dog. Sorry.
What are your John's like? What are we doing here? We're talking about.
I know. It's like I thought we were talking about Elon. We'll get to Elon. Okay.
Do you have a? But I'm curious. Like I've never had a. I don't think we've had a 1 generation removed Brit before. Have we, John? Not that I know of.
I don't ask all of our guests if they've been 1 generation removed from being British, but none have told us that.
That's true. Yeah. Like I was trying to. We've had people from other countries. Like Leah's French, I know, and everything. Yeah. And we've had but I don't know if I've heard. So, do you have any theories on the Kate Middleton thing?
I think she's dead.
You think she's dead? Ooh,
I think she's dead.
Ooh,
here's hope.
That's a hot take. That's a hot take.
I think she's dead. All right. How deep into the conspiracy do you want me to go? Because
John, what do you think?
Really,
I know. Honestly, I'm totally fine because I have just been avoiding this because I avoid most royal family stuff because it usually just pisses me off when I read about it. But like, I should probably at least know the broad strokes of what's going on with Kate Middleton.
The broad strokes.
Oh, so Cannon, tell me if what I'm missing here. Because what I remember, here's what I remember hearing. I heard that she was missing since around Thanksgiving, Christmas, somewhere around there. Last
Christmas, New Year's.
Christmas, Christmas, New Year's. So, she was supposed to she was sick. Like she had like an intestinal surgery or an abdominal surgery or something like that. Oh, that was in quotes. So that's a theory. I thought that was confirmed that she was sick. Okay, all right. So let me know what
had surgery. That's confirmed that they allege was planned surgery, but you don't usually have to cancel public appearances for surgery that was planned ahead of time.
Good point.
Throwing that out for what it's worth. So the timeline. All right, I'll take you through the timeline. There was a public appearance on Christmas with the royal families doing what royals do, like royaling, right? What do? They royal. Then they went to this, I can't think the name of the place off the top of my head now, but they went to where they Christmas because Christmasing's a verb when you're royal. So while they are at their Christmassy Christmas place, there is an emergency of some sort, and there are police escorts and emergency vehicles seen leaving the estate where the royal family, where Kate Middleton, William, the kids are all whatever. And it's all very hush hush. Nobody says anything about it. The British media isn't reporting on it. And if the British media isn't on top of something, it's because they're not allowed to be because the crown controls the media. And if you know anything about the British media, they are savage. Like they
killed the royal before, so
in the middle of the night. Exactly. So like the idea, like if you think the American press corps is bad, woof, meet the Daily Mail, right? Like it's just, so if they're not talking about it, you know something's serious. So then it comes out that she has this planned abdominal surgery that will put her in the hospital for 20 days. Now, I don't know if you know anything about surgeries in general, but very few of them require a 20-day.
That's what I was thinking. 20 days. Holy shit! I've never heard of that. I mean, unless you're dying.
So then the theories were, well, what was this abdominal surgery? And then some people were considering that perhaps she had like a colonoscopy, like she had some weird thing and like she had to have a colonoscopy put in, and that she was just embarrassed and she didn't want to go anywhere until it was all healed up because she didn't want them to see the bag, whatever, right? So that was one theory going around. Then King Charles comes out and says that he has cancer, ? Right? But we don't know what kind of cancer. We're not going to say it. It was found this way. It was found this way. It was prostate
obviously
cancer.
Obviously of the fingers. I'm pretty sure. Is he the young one or the old one?
He's the old one. He's the new king.
Yeah. Yeah,
the new
yeah,
the new
those
king
fingers,
of
this-
12 minutes. Yeah, he's great. We hate him. We've always hated him. But hold on, my computer's being stupid. So he announces that he has cancer. There's this like weird 45-minute trip from Harry where he flies all the way to England, goes directly to meet with his father, stays for 45 minutes and gets on a plane and flies back, and that's it.
Oh,
so like
that's weird.
why did he need a face-to-face meeting? Something that couldn't be intercepted, digital communications or whatever. So a face-to-face meeting with his father that lasts 45 minutes. While all of this is happening, there are no recorded visits of anybody going to visit Kate Middleton while her 20-day hospital stay was occurring. Only once did William show up. Only once did the King and Camilla show up together. The children have never shown up. Nobody from her family, her parents, her sister, nobody has shown up. And then a week later, the guy that she was alleged to be having an affair with, who was also the ex-boyfriend of her sister Pippa, just mysteriously dies with a gunshot wound in his head outside a hotel.
Oh shit! I didn't know
What?
I want to make this clear. All I knew about this story is that there was a magazine that got photoshopped, and like I thought it was just like they thought she was like. I didn't realize there was this whole fucking conspiracy.
Holy shit!
Like holy shit!
So after the ex-boyfriend turns up and mysteriously dead, the media is starting to get curious. So where's Kate? Why are all these strange things happening around Kate and Kate's family and people related to Kate's family? Enter the doctored photograph. No, everything's fine. It's Mother's Day. Here she is with the kids. Isn't it wonderful? Except it wasn't, because it was a horribly photoshopped picture.
Yeah.
And then a day or two later, there was a photoshopped video clip of her in the backseat of a car with William. I'm like, okay, so now they're putting a lot of effort into releasing like doctored images to prove that she's alive. If she was alive and they needed to prove life, they could. Like, if you know anything about the British family, it's not like there's something they call the firm that runs the British family. They're like the machine that operates like the workings of the monarchy, and they are very, very dedicated to maintaining the public image. Like why they all think that Diana was killed by the royal family is because it was rumored that the guy she died with, she was going to get engaged to. She may have been pregnant with his child. And because he was Egyptian, they didn't want the future king of England to have a brown stepbrother or half brother or whatever it is. And that's how disgusting the royal. That's how there's a delicious irony to Meghan Markle. And I feel like Diana made that one happen all by herself. She was like, "Fuck you, motherfucker!" Pulling the strings in heaven. There she goes. But so now her ex-boyfriend, potential lover, is dead. The pictures have all been like doctored in the media. All of these things are coming out. Camilla, the queen, who like orchestrated this entire like 20-year plot to destroy Diana's life so she could get Charles back so she could finally be queen, has decided that because of her husband's cancer, her 3 weeks as queen is good. She's out of office. So she has stepped back from her royal duties. So the king has backed out of his duties. The queen has backed out of her duties. The Princess of Wales has been missing for 3 months. The heirs to the throne, the 3 children, missing for a month and or missing for 3 months. The other heir to the throne, like if those 3 children are missing, if William is out, the other heir is Harry. He was flown for a 45-minute face-to-face meeting with his father, and no Kate has been. So I think she's dead.
Wow.
Well, okay, hold on. Here's my question.
Question. I have like 10.
Like, scrap the show. This is what we're doing.
So we actually had a whole ass like episode about conspiracy theories that like literally dropped like yesterday. And so like
where was I for that?
The point we made in that episode was the way to be like, does this conspiracy theory have maybe potential weight behind it is,
oh my God, you're right.
Who does it benefit and how much? So like, who does it benefit that if Kate is dead, how does someone benefit from people not knowing she's dead?
That's what I was going to ask. Because if she was dead, why pretend she's alive? Like, what do you get out of that? I mean, sure, it'll be embarrassing, but she's not coming back. I mean, like, rip that Band-Aid off.
Would you like the answer to that one?
Oh, I'd love the answer.
I'm so good at storytelling. It's like I know the questions that will come. This is 20 years of teaching.
It's as if I'm a content creator.
As if I do this for a living. So back to that Christmas trip, back to that Christmas, the mysterious emergency vehicles fleeing the Christmas house, which after all of that crazy, I bet you forgot a little bit, right? You forgot that there was somebody that was taken away from the Christmas home on Christmas Day under the guise of night, right? So they also have discussed how there have been, like, the worst kept secret in Buckingham Palace is that William has an explosive temper, often violently explosive temper.
Ooh,
Are you
okay,
are you about to go where I think you're about to go?
Okay.
So remember, she had an abdominal surgery. So imagine she's this itty bitty. She's a tiny little woman, right? So what if the future king of England got rousingly drunk on whiskey sours on Christmas Day, as British people tend to do, got in a fight with his delicate little wife, beat her so badly she was rushed to the hospital and required immediate surgery, say for a ruptured spleen or multiple broken ribs, which would all require an extensive hospital stay that could also have, complications thereafter that could extend a hospital stay, but beyond the original thing. Because remember, now her recovery will be 9 months, not 3 months. Remember that whole thing came out. So it also could lead to complications with the surgery, internal bleeding, sepsis, intestinal, whatever. So if she was beaten by her husband to near death and then died from complications of the surgery to save her life, who would benefit from keeping it a secret she's alive until they can figure out the succession?
Oh my God. All right.
I got it.
You're welcome.
That's wild. That is some wild shit. So I didn't know. All right, so
he's blown away. John's like questioning his entire life, right?
No, I mean, this is all I know about the story. So this is my what happened. I have no other influence. I'm just assuming.
Okay, so my gears were turning on this when you were talking. First, I didn't know that Harry was flown out to England too. That makes it a lot weirder. Like, what the hell? Like, why? What's so goddamn important that they have to bring him out there? But here's the other part that was weird too. I didn't know that she was allegedly having an affair and that guy is dead, because if that's the case, that would be a very unfortunate coincidence, or maybe not a coincidence at all. Maybe it's something far more sinister.
I don't know, but this is the second assassination conspiracy theory that we think is probably true. That we've
I don't know. I'm not saying anybody was assassinated. I don't know.
I'm saying this guy's assassinated. Everyone was assassinated.
Honestly, very weird. God, that's some.
I feel like this entire story just tells you everything you need to know about the British royal family, because personally, I'm discussing this right now and I'm being I feel a little personally icky, just talking about people dying and getting beaten and this way, this callously. But it's well, the only reason I'm doing this is because they're a fucking monarchy who exists entirely off their popularity, and this has to come with the territory. Just don't do this, and
don't do it. Don't do it.
It's all dumb. It's all stupid. Why do you do this? Are you a monarchist? I highly doubt this, Cannon. But are you a monarchist?
No.
I can't imagine.
I am team abolish the monarchy. We're from Liverpool. Our entire town creed. But there's
we have no idea what that means. You're from Liverpool.
You don't know what that means?
No.
It's England's second city. It's where the Industrial Revolution was born.
I know Liverpool's the blue collar.
It's where the Beatles are
from.
The
Beatles are from there. That's all I knew.
It's where the Titanic launched from. There's also some other morbid history, because when you're a port city from the British Empire, you're also famous for gross things. It's fine. It's fine. There's a museum where we say sorry.
The monarchy, I've long, ever since the Princess Diana days, I've always been what is our weird obsession with the British monarchy? It shouldn't be a thing. Why is it still here? And so you probably know the arguments better than I do, Cannon, because what I hear is, well, we need to keep the monarchy because look, they're just a constitutional monarchy. They don't have any actual power. And then I respond, okay, if that's the case, then why are they here? If they actually don't have any power, what are they doing here? And that's not true. It's not true that they don't have any power. They actually do have, not only is it influence, and don't they have the most land and the most wealth in England just by fact of being the monarchy? So that's an incredible amount of power there. And I remember learning that was Queen Elizabeth at the time about the actual governmental powers that she does have. There's quite a few. Among them is the ability to, so they have a House of Lords and a House of Commons, instead of a Senate and a House of Representatives. And so the House of Lords is their version of the Senate. And the queen or the king now appoints 1/3 of the House of Lords, and I think the people get the other third, and the third
Wait, is that true?
and the third, this is it gets better, John. The other third is appointed by the Church of England. And guess who the head of the Church of England is? Like, you want to take a while to guess who's in charge. Yeah. So it's like, that's just one of them. And there's like a lot of actual government powers they do have. And so it's bullshit when they say they don't have any authority. And the second thing is that they say, oh, we can't get rid of them because it drives a lot of tourism. You know, it's really important for them to say, listen,
the castle will be there.
The castle's not going anywhere. You know, like, I'm so sorry. That's absurd.
French castles get more tourism and there's no alive king.
That is a fair point. No, I always say that the queen or in this case now the king doesn't have any power until he does.
Yeah.
Because the other important thing is, like, not only do they appoint a good portion of the House of Lords, but they also have the power to convene Parliament or not.
Or not.
Parliament. And if you know your British history, kings named Charles have had some conflict with Parliament.
Oh my God.
Past.
Wait, TJ's godding this, and I need to know what's being talked
about.
Charles
I and Charles II have a very complicated, Charles I especially had a very complicated relationship with Parliament. Charles I, go ahead.
Yeah, Charles I lost the monarchy. Like the one time that the British monarchy did disappear was under King
That's
Charles.
not all he lost.
and then he had his head chopped off by Oliver Cromwell. And then Oliver Cromwell went around killing Catholics and Irish people because that's what you do. Then when he died, James became king, but he sucked. And then Charles became king. And he was so pissed off about the death of his father that by royal decree, this is my favorite part of the story, TJ, I don't know if you know this, but by royal decree, they exhumed the body of Oliver Cromwell, removed his head from his corpse, put it on a stake, and put it outside of the Parliament building to remind people what happened when you fuck with the king. Then he got into his own conflicts with Parliament, yelling back and forth. He got really drunk on his birthday and burnt down the city of London. Had 12 illegitimate children, one of whom the current Queen Camilla descends from. So Camilla is the descendant of one of the illegitimate children of the last King Charles.
Didn't know that. How about that?
And then she married a King Charles. My
God,
the whole thing is so fucked up. I genuinely, tell me this, because when Elizabeth died, I thought they were just gonna, we're done with this. And it didn't even seem like that was a discussion.
It wasn't.
I'm very confused as to how there wasn't a serious movement to end the monarchy. Because I got it. As long as Elizabeth was alive, I was like, okay, well, it's a vestige, but it's the same person. We all kind of like her. It's fine. But then when she died, it was like, why? Why no one likes Charles? Who wants him to be king?
I was going to say, especially with how unpopular Charles is. But the reason that it's William and Kate is what's kept the monarchy going, because we know Charles sucks, we know Camilla sucks, but they're also 70, so they're really just placeholders. But we have this adorable family with this beautiful queen and these adorable children, and the vision of a monarchy of yesteryear on the table, ready to, like, a king of England with a beautiful queen and a young family. It's their Camelot, right? Like William and Kate are their Jackie and Jackie and Jackie, I guess, right?
Jackie and Kennedy.
Yeah, like and that's what it is. So the hope of this is what they, keep the monarchy around. So it'll be great to have a nice young king. My theory as to why Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine is because the idea of a new king sitting on the throne of England was so just jarring for Mr. I want a Russian Empire. I can't compete with an actual king. Like the Queen of England isn't intimidating to a misogynist, but the King of England sure is. So I'm going to go invade Ukraine and rebuild my Russian Empire. I have conspiracies on this very clearly.
I will say that. So I never thought. Then again, I never thought for a second they'd abolish the monarchy because, like, I don't know. I just didn't. Oh, no one talk about it. But I will say, if your theory is true, if this Charlie Day theory we got together here is correct, and Kate is dead, and William is responsible for it, and I don't know what they do to royals who commit manslaughter or whatever. I don't know what would happen.
I don't either.
The idea of him being king would be rejected by the state. I pretty much guarantee. So that means Charles has cancer. He only, let's say he really does, and he only has a few years left. I mean, he's 70 something, and say he dies 10 years from now. they're not gonna like hand over the monarchy to what a 19-year-old, a 20-year-old, however old their oldest kid is. Like that's ridiculous. Like that might collapse the entire thing. Like this is a little bit too absurd. We're not gonna give the crown to, you know, a college freshman. Like that might be enough to actually topple this. And so here's hoping, in one way or the other, that this comes about. I don't know.
And that's why I think they're keeping it secret. But
I'm so much more interested in this story now. I'm going to have to follow this. Thank you. Because I thought it was just like dumb royal shit. But like, it's like, oh shit.
It still is.
It still is. But the ending of the monarchy is about the only thing I care about when it comes to the monarchy. Like I just, I fucking hate that it exists. I hate that so many people look at the monarchy and go, that's a thing that should exist.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that.
I hate it so much.
Especially Americans. That's what gets me the most. Because, like, look, if you're British, fine. If you've grown up with that and you're infatuated with it, but come on, like George Washington did not cross the mighty Delaware River for you to wake up and check on the, you know, how great the royal family is doing. I don't understand it. I don't get it at all.
It's like
but
if my grandchildren put on a Cowboys jersey, I'd be like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, you know, why do we like the Royals?"
That's good shit. All right. Let's talk American politics. Let's talk American politics. We'll finally get around to it. So, what do you want to go over first, John? We got what do we got? We got Elon, we got Mike Pence, we got
I kind of want to start with Pence. That's
Mike Pence.
Like that would be a good one to start with.
All right, Mike Pence.
And by the way, do you want to go by Cannon or Kathy?
Whatever, it doesn't matter.
I'm gonna call you Cannon because that's
Cannon's too cool. Why you can't pass that up?
That's usually where people land. It's fine.
I don't usually sound like I swallowed a hot cold. My voice is just bad today. So
I wouldn't have known either way. So.
Exactly. She's like, wow, man. I can't believe this guy makes content. He sounds like RFK.
We didn't say he made good content. I'm
just a Make-A-Wish kid that TJ's brought along for way too long.
Oh boy, I'm getting fired.
Oh man. All right, so
nobody watches this kid. Don't worry, it's not like we're live or anything.
I know it's not like we're live. Yeah, so
fix it in post.
All right, so speaking of political figures who don't have any power, let's talk about Mike Pence. Let's talk about good old Michael Pence. So I was really excited to talk about this interview he did with Fox, in which I think it was Martha McCallum who was interviewing him. And she asked former Vice President Pence if he planned to support Donald Trump now that he's officially clinched the Republican nomination. And Mike Pence said, I quote, "It should come as no surprise that I will not be endorsing Donald Trump." And I got to tell you, that did come as a surprise to me. I don't know why he acted like that was a foregone conclusion. I mean, you spent 8 or 9 years kissing Trump's ass the entire time. Even after he led a crowd that wanted to kill you, you still seem to have nothing but nice things to say about the guy. And his explanation was really funny too, because he went on saying that, listen, I have a lot of disagreement. Imagine me saying this with like 1,000 times less charisma, but he's like, he says, I have a lot of disagreements with former President Trump. Not, among them is January 6th. That's one of them. But I also don't like how irresponsible he is with the national debt. And he hasn't come out strongly enough against abortion. And he reverses his term in getting tough with China and saying that he opposes the Chinese having to sell TikTok. Now, he focused all of those with 5 or 6 sentences backing up, didn't have shit to say about January 6th. And it's like, man, Mike Pence was already a joke. It's just already, it's funny that he thought anyone would care that he wasn't backing Donald Trump. But the one thing I want to point out with this is, because I don't know when the next chance I'm going to talk about Mike Pence ever again, is that Mike Pence is a fascinating political figure for me, because he actually represents everything the Christian right claims they stand for. Mm-hmm. He is a true believer in God. He's a deeply religious man. He crosses his T's, he dots his I's, he minds his P's and Q's, whatever letter, based metaphor you want to go with. The guy is straight-laced. Can you imagine him swearing? I mean, can you anything like that? He's staunch.
Mike Pence is what you think of when you're trying not to come. Like that's
when you're 90 seconds in and you know it's about, and you're like, all right, Mike Pence will put a stop to this. But yeah, like and it just, to me, it's a great example of what the religious right claims to care about and what they actually care about. Like, what they claim to care about is the Bible thumping and everything, but what they actually care about is being just like obnoxiously rude and gross and vile and authoritarian. That's what I want to talk with Mike Pence. We'll go with Cannon first, I guess. Like, what are your thoughts on this shocking news that Mike Pence is rejecting Trump?
Shocking news. I actually wasn't surprised that he didn't endorse him. I mean, the guy tried to have him killed. Like, I know he's a spineless fuck, but I didn't think he would be that spineless of a fuck. But I guess you did. That's fine. That's fair. My favorite thing about this, though, is the headline from the Indy Star. Okay, it's Mike Pence is not endorsing Trump. Here's why that doesn't matter. And that's the Indy Star. That's his hometown paper. And that was my favorite bit. That was my favorite bit. That's why rough. It doesn't matter. Because it doesn't. Like you said, this is your last chance to talk about him. He was a little bit of an irrelevant figure to start. He, like you said, no charisma, no political whatever. He got stuck on the Donald Trump ticket because he had no personality, so he wouldn't overshadow Donald Trump. But like you said, he's the ticket to the Bible thumpers. But now they're all just so they all want Trump to be king. Speaking of monarchies, right? So they don't need a Pence kind of figure anymore. So into the lion's den with you, Mikey. That's my thought.
It is. So like when I read this, I wasn't surprised so much that he didn't. I just thought he would kind of just not bring up like I just figured he just wouldn't say anything. I'm surprised he was like pretty harsh with it, which is what I was surprised mostly by. Like he was like, I cannot in good conscience. Whenever you say you cannot in good conscience do something, that's like you mean this shit. And he's like, not in good conscience endorse Donald Trump, which is a big deal. Like as much as that MAGA already hates Pence, right? But like I feel like if I'm an undecided voter, that would matter to me. Like if I'm like, the vice president isn't endorsing the guy he worked with for 4 years. He got a pretty close look at the presidency, and he said he cannot in good conscience do this. Like, I know that swing voters probably aren't like, in this election the most logically coherent people. Yeah. But like still, I feel like Biden could hammer the fuck out of that. Like I swear to God, like Biden should have about like 20 different things he's waiting for Trump to say during the first debate, where he could just respond with, "Well, at least my vice president endorsed me." Like, and I feel like that is a winning line every time, and there's nothing that Donald can do against it. And I feel like that would win people over on just a basic human level.
We would like to think so.
Yeah,
but,
I might be overly hopeful here, but I feel like it will move the needle a little bit. A little bit.
So here are the two. I had two thoughts when you said that, John. First is you said that might move some people, and then my immediate reaction was no, it wouldn't. But then again, I'm overestimating like how knowledgeable like your normie is when it comes to politics. Like I thought maybe that's true. Like maybe they have no idea that there was a crowd chanting "Hang Mike Pence," and that
nobody knows. No normie didn't endorse Trump. Like the normies have no idea that this happened. That's why Biden would have to hit him over the head with it in a very public setting.
And then when you said that, I did think of something Trump could say. I did think that Trump could say response to that. Like, oh, well, after Obama's term, he endorsed somebody else. He didn't endorse you to be president. And so what's up with that? So that's what I would respond with if I was Trump. I was like, oh, your running mate wasn't too keen. It wasn't the same as not endorsing, but it would be something. It would be something. And it's all in delivery too. But yeah, that was a story that I wanted to cover. And Mike Pence, you mentioned the Indy Star. So I live in Indianapolis, and I'm not from here. I ended up here a few years ago. But Mike Pence, every once in a while, I'll still see like you can catch like a motorcade that's clearly like a Secret Service. He's like, it's Mike Pence, whatever. He lives like 30 minutes south of here. But I remember learning like when Mike Pence was first suggested to be Trump's vice president. And yeah, you're right. We bring this up all the time with people Trump might pick to be his vice president. And I was like, look, I don't know who it's going to be, but I tell you, it's not going to be like Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley or Vivek Ramaswamy. It's anyone with a personality out the window. Like there's a minimal chance he can pick a woman with a personality because he'll feel less threatened by that. But generally, it's got to be someone boring. It's got to be someone that Trump is completely confident that he can, walk over and overshadow, that won't steal the spotlight from him. And so we've been saying that plenty of times that there's no way that'll happen. So Pence was perfect for that, but he ironically like did the right thing on January 6th, which I would not have bet on. I would not have bet on it that he actually did. So kudos to that.
I would have
go to hell.
See, this is weird. Like I would have bet on, like the thing. I wasn't surprised he didn't endorse him, and I knew he'd come through on January 6th because he's such a good little Christian boy. He knew he was breaking the rules, and at the core of it, like he was raised Catholic, which is important to know. So he may have like converted to evangelical Christianity.
I didn't know that, huh?
But when you're raised Catholic, it follows you. It just does. And like I could feel him like standing in the room, just like with the nuns behind him, just knowing like the ire that would follow him if he did. You can't break the rules. When Catholicism is in your soul, you can't break the rules. But to John's point, I have one thing, like to your point about when his vice president won't endorse him, will that like break the normies? And where Biden can hammer it is it's not like it's just Mike Pence that has come out and said it's not endorsed. Like I actually have the list. It's Bill Barr, John Bolton, H.R. McMaster, Jim Mattis, John Kelly, Mark Milley, Dan Coates, Mick Mulvaney, and to date, Nikki Haley. So that's his entire White House, like Oval Office staff. Those are his closest advisors. Not a single person that worked daily in the Oval Office with him is willing to endorse him. That's the message you hammer home. Because literally, if all of your coworkers say, don't hire that fucker back, you don't hire that fucker back.
It really is like, it's not that hard of a path to re-election. All Biden has to do is say, no one who worked with Trump is endorsing him. He wants to stop you from having an abortion, and then just stop killing people in Gaza. He does those three things, and the election is all his. One of them is going to be much harder for him than the other two, and it's not the one it should be.
It's not the one it should be.
The worst part is he doesn't even have to do the third thing. He just has to point to how much worse it would be without him.
Yeah.
Because Donald Trump is basically, because Jared Kushner's come out with like, the Gaza Strip has some really good beachfront property that we should develop.
Oh, did he say that?
He said that.
He said that, and he's like, we should just move everybody out. Like, so he basically came out loud and said, we should ethnically cleanse this region for hotels. So if they think Gaza's getting better in a Trump administration, dream on. Like, dream on. Like, is it bad? Yes. Would it be exponentially worse? Also, yes. So. And he got $2 billion from the Saudis. I'd like to also throw out there for a particular reason. $2 billion from the Saudis, and now dreams of oceanfront property in Gaza. That's not a coincidence.
I like it. That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I don't know, Ken. If we're ever just staring at
I
you,
forgot.
It means that we're ending the clip.
I forgot.
And you don't have to keep talking.
Yeah.
She was going on. I was like, oh shit, we didn't tell her this.
Yeah, I forgot to tell her. Yeah, that's the important part of this. Yeah, don't feel bad.
On Troy's show, or like with Troy, it's like, all right. I have to fill the space. Because we just do one long cut.
Dreams of an oceanfront property in Gaza sounds like a horrendous documentary. That's something made. Like it's just awful shit. And John, I wanted to know if you could co-sign because John grew up Catholic. If you can co-sign what she said about the whole guilt thing. You think that had something to do with Mike Pence?
100 million%. Yeah, like what it honestly, like I still feel the way I like it follows you. Like you feel it in the back of your mind. Even if like you're doing something you wholeheartedly 100% is the right thing to do, if it's against the rules, that ruler, it's just you're just waiting for it.
The ruler, right?
You know the ruler. But yeah.
The real scary thing is I want to see if you can still do it. Like I believe in one God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, of all things seen and unseen. I believe in one. You started saying it in your head, didn't you?
I don't think I could do it that one from memory, because I didn't say that one so much. There's definitely prayer. So did you see the show Midnight Mass?
Oh, I saw that show. Not
Okay,
Catholic,
well,
but I saw the show. Wanted to add.
Kevin, first of all, it's an excellent show. Have you heard of
Excellent.
Haunting of Hill House? Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I've seen that one. That
So
one's
it's
really
the same
good.
guy who made this.
Oh, okay.
And it's literally like the most accurate rendition of the Catholic Mass I've ever seen. And I was just like, I'm watching my girlfriend and they're doing it, and I just start like saying, like, going along with it, and she looked at me like at a third head. She's like, "How do you know what they're saying? Like, how did you know what they were about to say?" I was like, "Because I did this for hours of my life, hours and hours and hours spent doing this. It's disgusting."
You know which one you'll know. The one that everybody knows, because it's the one that, like, if you went to Catholic school, the teachers watch to make sure you do. I confess to Almighty God, to you and my brothers and sisters, that I have greatly sinned through my fault, through my most grievous fault.
God, it's terrible. See, I feel like the evangelicals are definitely worse, but Catholics have a particular kind of bad. Like it's a very specific flavor.
Catholics. So I grew up evangelical. So Catholics, I will say, are definitely smarter than evangelicals. Like across the board, they're a lot smarter. Not just like in regular life, but the ones who are in power, like the political Catholics, like the evangelicals are just conspiracy-addled nut jobs. Like the Catholic ones actually went to school and actually know how to read, and they're like, okay, we can determine what's poetry in the Bible and what's history. Like I think Catholicism is a little bit more absurd in a lot of ways, with like the strange like presbytery structure and ecclesiastical settings where there's like a king preacher, the Pope. That's weird fucking shit. So and by
Papa
the way,
Frank.
Say what?
I call him Papa Frank because that would get me in trouble.
It's like, yeah, I don't know. It's odd in a lot of ways, but I do respect Catholics in the fact that they're in a weird way a lot more reasonable than your wild evangelical. So it's crazy that Pence has been both. I didn't know he grew up Catholic. That's really bizarre. That's something weird.
They're the weirdest ones to me. The evangelicals, like the Catholics turned evangelicals, are the weirdest ones to me. It's like you went from one wacky religious cult to another one. And like you left the one with all the money, because like evangelicals are just they're just 17th century Catholics, right? Like before they pillaged the world, they just have aspirations of being Papa Frank.
That's because the other defining like trait of my Catholicism is that even though I'm very not religious, you might even call me anti-religious today, I still have a weird elitism that like Catholicism is better than all of the other Christian religions. And so like it just blows my mind that anyone would go from Catholicism to one of those. It's
Catholicism or nothing, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's either you're a Catholic. Like that's how I am. I'm like, I got so pissed off at the Catholic Church so many times in my life because And I was like, I'm going to find a new church. They're all fucking crazy. And my opinion in the end was just like, I'm gonna stick with the crazy I know, because at least they have global political power.
It's like, I can't imagine like leaving Catholicism for some shit-kicking Protestant, denomination. Like what? Oh, you guys have been around for 400 years. That's real cute. Yeah, it's
absorbs.
Yeah, right. It is. And I was thinking just now of Mike Pence. Oh, that's right. The people who switch from Catholicism to evangelicalism is weird. They're weird, but the people who switch from, at least from what I've noticed, from evangelical Protestantism to Catholicism, Nazis. That's the only time I see that happen. Like the people who are like the evangelical to like Catholic or Orthodox or anything pipeline, they all end up being like these strange, like a Roman statue Twitter account people. That's who those folks are. I've never seen. Go ahead.
That makes a lot of sense, because it's like, do you really like religious fundamentalism, but also you're into extremely hierarchical power structures?
Yeah.
Welcome to the Catholic Church.
Yeah, it's a lot scarier. It's a lot scarier when they're that way, which does kind of fit kind of Mike Pence's category. Mike Pence just lacks the. One more thing on Mike Pence, because like I gotta get all the Mike Pence stuff out now because I might not have another chance to. But
the last of it right here.
You guys ever see the meme where it shows Mike Pence looks like the guy who's trying to ban the X-Men, and there's this X-Men like panel where it's a guy who looks just like Mike Pence from like an X-Men comic from the 80s, and he's pointing at Nightcrawler like, you're telling me that thing is human? Like that's it was a pretty good meme. And I thought that now because I just saw the X-Men 97 cartoon that came out. Did you see that, Cannon Spider?
I'm excited to watch it. That was a part of my childhood.
Oh yeah, it's. I will say this about the X-Men though, that believe it or not, I have theories. I have something to say about X-Men too. It's that So the whole point of X-Men and a lot of comics, but especially X-Men, is that it's an allegory for, being born different and being mistreated by society. But I mean, it's all allegories are flawed, but this one I find especially flawed because listen, I get that you treat people who are born differently the same, but listen, folks, if there was a house next door that had people in it who could fly, who could shoot lasers out of their eyes, control the fucking weather. I don't know. Maybe keep an extra eye on them. Like maybe write a few rules for these folks. I don't think it's bigoted for people to say, yeah, my neighbor can phase through walls, and I'm kind of scared of what she can do. I mean, it's that's not bigotry. That's a rational response to someone who grows claws out of their hands and can't die. I'm afraid of that person. Like, call me a bigot if you want. That is terrifying. So it's a great show, but I just want to point out that let's not be too hard on the humans. If I were that universe, I'd be shitting my pants.
It's like the magical shaman or something, like the classic like stereotype where it's like, oh yeah, the Native Americans were just like magical and they never did anything wrong and they're terrible. And it's actually kind of racist to like say that because they were humans and just as fucked up as anything.
They're humans, yeah, but
it is kind of like that. If you're like, yeah, no, this is an allegory for the civil rights movement. You shouldn't be scared of the black people. Then that's the mutants in this scenario.
Yeah, if black people,
a whole different problem,
if black people could turn their skin into steel, okay, I wouldn't be where I say, okay, you guys have that's a legitimate problem. Okay, you should be worried about that. Yeah. So, all right.
TJ, keep the show running for 2 seconds. My dog's gonna kill me if I don't take her out.
No problem. No problem.
But and then we'll talk Netanyahu.
I think we lost Ken. She's frozen.
Oh, she's frozen. I can hear
the X-Men got her.
The X-Men got her. Nightcrawler just poofed in there.
They're taking us out one by one.
I still hear. I don't know what's happening.
She'll be back. This is an internet thing.
She was talking. She has a router issue. Well, I lost her for a second when we were talking before the show. You said your dog was bothering you, John?
Yeah, no. When she comes back, we'll keep chatting because I don't want to since we're live. The Catholic being raised Catholic is one of the weirdest things because it is the most boring thing in the entire world, TJ. Like I go to other masses, I've been to a couple and I'm just like, oh, this is interesting. I can see how a human being would willingly do this. Catholicism isn't like that. Catholicism is you go there and you feel bad about yourself and you sit in an uncomfortable wooden pew and you eat a piece of fucking cardboard afterwards and maybe there's donuts. Maybe
your church had donuts.
I was like donuts.
Once a month they had donuts. It was the best Sunday of my life every single time.
I got to bank the board erasers after CCD because I taught that.
Well, yeah, I can't prove this for a fact, but after CCD we had youth group, after we graduated from CCD. And I went there for the first year because my mom made me, and then the next year she didn't make me again. And didn't say anything about it. And I think it's because I pissed off the youth group leader so much that he was like, don't have Jonathan come back. Because she would have never just willingly sacrificed that battle. She would have died on that hill.
This is I have found my people here. This is how I know, because did I get kicked out of youth group after CCD? I did. That's a story. Fine. So you were low key kicked out. I had a whole meeting with the Monsignor kicked out.
Sweet.
All right,
tell that story, fantastic. And I'll listen to it on the live afterwards. I'm gonna let my dog out.
How did the meeting with the Monsignor go, Cannon?
I also got kicked out of Catholic preschool, which is an even funnier story.
Catholic preschool? What do you get? This 4-year-old is too much. I'm sorry.
That is okay. I will tell the story. I love telling the story. I tell it to my kids every year because it's Canon has lore is what they all kind of know on campus because I've been there forever. And this is among the Canon lore. So he said he'll watch it. So you're cool with me telling the story?
Oh yeah. Canon events. We can just
the Canon backstories that nobody gets to hear. So when I was 4, what you have to remember is my parents are immigrants, right? So we lived in Boca Raton, Florida, because it's my dad was a telecom engineer, which means he was always traveling. So my mom was this she was 25 and had 3 kids under 5. Like, that's what I want you to know. So by the time I was 4, she's almost 30. So she's under 30 with 3 little kids. My dad's traveling all the time. So periodically she would drop us off at the church because they would babysit us.
Yeah.
Like babysit preschool. Like, I understand why she did this. So my older brother's 3 years older than me, and my younger brother's like not even 2 years younger. Like, we're 20 months apart. So the two of us just were a handful for my mom, is how she described it. We were just a handful. But I was also very protective of my little brother because he was just like, we were so close together in age that we just always did everything together.
Yeah.
It's still kind of like that today. But there were 2 incidents that got me kicked out of preschool. One got me a stern talking to, and what my mother describes later as a last chance warning. And the other one was my last chance. So the first story involves show and tell. So remember when you were kids and you would all bring in like your things and you'd like, this is my toy, and it was wonderful, and it's like this whole thing. So it's the 80s, so I had a Cabbage Patch doll. So I brought my Cabbage Patch doll to school proudly, like ready to share it. And mine was like cute. She had a little romper suit and short hair, like, because my mom had short hair, like a pixie cut. So I got a Cabbage Patch doll with a pixie cut like my mom. So these 3 Catholic school, preschool mean girls after show and tell come up to me. You're getting the story about how I got kicked out of preschool right now. Sorry. So
we all have one, folks. No, do we not?
Obviously, this is just like my version. So I show my Cabbage Patch doll, and these 3 little mean girls come up to me after, like, when we're on the little playground outside the little classrooms, like how it works. And they say, your Cabbage Patch doll is ugly, just like you, which was very, very uncalled for. It was very uncalled for. So 4-year-old
Them's fighting words.
Yeah. And I'm 4 and from Liverpool and British and
from Liverpool,
whatever. So that makes sense if you know people from Liverpool. So I grab the main mean girl's doll by the hair, rip it out of her hands, pull the hair out of the scalp of the Cabbage Patch doll, throw it back to her with force, and say, yours is ugly now too. And then I cried because she hurt my feelings. So Sister Catherine took me to Monsignor McMahon's office, and I sat outside Monsignor McMahon's office, and they called my mom, and we had a whole conversation about how it's not nice to break other kids' toys. Whatever, it's fine. Don't do that again. I got the gist. Fast forward a period of time, because I'm 4 and I don't know timelines. And you know those little play school houses on the playground, the little, like, you go in and play house. Okay, so like me and my little brother, so I'm 4, he's 2, and we're playing in this little house. I'm making little mud pies, having a blast. It's all great. And then a little boy in a Batman t-shirt and his little cohort of boys. But I remember the Batman shirt because it's an important part of the story. Pushes my little brother into the sand, kicks sand in my 2-year-old brother's eyes, and says, babies aren't allowed in the playhouse.
What a hilarious sentence in hindsight.
True. Very true. Yeah.
So this little fucker clearly had missed a few weeks ago when I tore the hair off of a Cabbage Patch doll. So I pushed him to the ground with one push. Like, I had a big brother. He forgot. I might have been 4, but I had a 7-year-old brother at home. I could push a motherfucker. So I pushed that motherfucker to the ground, and he starts to cry, at which point I sit on his chest, as a good 4-year-old sister with a big brother learns to do, because he's bigger than me. I have to sit on his chest. It's the center of gravity. So I sit on his chest and start punching him with his own hands, because that's another classic move that you learn, right? So I keep hitting him with his own hands, and he's crying. And I said, who's the baby now? Who's the baby now? You're the crying baby now. And I beat him up with his own hands. And he's like, stop hitting me. You're so mean. So I get off of him. I turn around. I steal his socks and shoes. Like, I literally take his socks and shoes off of his feet and bury them in the sandbox, because babies don't need shoes, I think I said. I don't really remember what I said. I just remember that I made this little boy cry, and then he ran out of the playhouse, and he never came back. He never told on me, because fucker knew enough to know not to fuck with Cannon, right? Like, that girl's scary. I'm not telling on her. She'll beat me up again. I would have. He's not wrong for having done that. But Sister Catherine, fucking Sister Catherine again. When little Johnny, I don't know if that was really his name, but she couldn't find his shoes, she was like, whoever can help so-and-so find his shoes, I have a big red lollipop for you. And I like lollipops.
Damn.
Okay? I like lollipops, and I'm 4, and I don't put pieces don't. So I was like, I want a fucking lollipop. So I beeline it to the sandbox, because I knew where the shoes were. I put them there, right? So I go retrieve the socks and shoes and say, Sister Catherine, I found them. hoping for a lollipop. Did I get a lollipop?
No, it was a trap.
No, I got taken to Monsignor McMahon's office again, where they told my mother that perhaps it would be best to wait for kindergarten to bring me back.
Damn.
That's right. You were right.
I was right. He made my little brother cry.
Yeah, if you didn't have the strike against you already, you may have gotten through. Who knows? It's just that teaching preschool does sound obnoxious, but outsmarting 4-year-olds would be a fun part of my day. Because come on, how hard could it be? Because they fall for shit like that every year. Like
DJ, we do that all the time when
with conservatives. Yeah, pretty much. That's true.
Kind of the same mentality.
We say that all the time. That it is like talking to like a fifth graders. A lot of times, it's like they never graduate, emotionally or intellectually beyond that level. So it's not that different. That's true.
They define Arrested Development.
Speaking of talking about authority figures and a religion, Benjamin Netanyahu.
Oh, yay. Fun.
So I wanted to talk about Benjamin Netanyahu this week, and not necessarily. So there's like a small piece of news, right? The Republicans are trying to get him to address Congress, and the piece of news that came out today specifically was that Schumer would not stop this from happening, which is a decent piece of news considering that Schumer kind of started off this whole thing when he came out pretty clearly saying Netanyahu's a problem here, and he called for Israel to hold re-elections to take him out of power. And that is that is the most harsh statement that a U.S. government official has made about an Israeli prime minister or anything, probably ever. And it's a high-ranking, is the Senate Majority Leader who is also Jewish. Like, he is the highest ranking Jewish member in our government. And that is a pretty big deal. And so obviously that whole saga is happening. And I'm pretty sure Netanyahu is going to address Congress because the Republicans want it to happen and Schumer's going to stop it. But Schumer's breaking ranks with Biden on that one, which is a pretty big deal. And I think that the Democratic transition plan is going to be to pin this all on Netanyahu and try and like he's going to be the scapegoat. And I guess the question here, obviously, but will it work? Because I don't know. You think it'll work?
Oh yeah. No.
Like what would work be? Because it could work to certain different levels. Like would it be just like sand under the bridge, water under the bridge, for like the most of Americans, and then we're just gonna still be weird about it? You think it goes back to the status quo on October 5th?
I don't know about that. I think being completely objective here, it is sort of on Bibi. Like, this is Benjamin Netanyahu's bullshit. Like, are there the legitimate, like, America's alliance with Israel and the amount of money we send them every year? That's a big fucking can of complicated that is really hard to explain to people. And I've tried in vain to do that. But we aren't sanctioning this the way it's playing out. We like the idea of Israel being able to flex their muscles in the region because that means that we have a strong military ally in the region where we get to keep those players in check without having to do a whole lot, which is why we were sort of like, yeah, go after them. That's fine. It turned very quick to genocide, and we did not like that because who does? But we were in that sticky situation where we like gave them the thumbs up to do something, and then when we didn't like the way we did it, like it was in that kind of thing. So will they be able to pin the genocide on Netanyahu? Yeah, because it's him pushing it. Like, his own people are against it. Like, the people in Israel are pissed off at him. He's the one pushing for it. And his negotiating point on this so far is I win or else. Like, there's no two-state solution for him. His only objective is I will destroy Palestine and I will make everything Israel. And that's not a negotiating point, right? And Biden's whole like jam foreign policy wise is and always has been diplomacy. That's his jam, finding compromise. And you can't compromise with I win or else. So there have been signs. So I had heard about it, but I hadn't like the extent of it. I didn't know that Schumer was okay with it. I knew Republicans were trying to get Bibi in. I didn't know Schumer was okay with
that
it.
Was
but
new today.
Yeah. I must have missed that one. So I think the reason that Schumer is okay with it is because it will stop any like partisan bullshit about Democrats have turned on Israel if the Democrats are fine with like the prime minister addressing Congress. If you like my little conspiracies, I have
Always love the conspiracies.
It's not really a conspiracy.
You are going to be Left Wing's official royal expert and official conspiracy theorist. So you got two birds with one stone here.
Oh boy,
we have an internship open for a conspiracy correspondent, and you are
that's a conspiracy correspondent. I like that.
Yes. I like that, and it's the same initials, CCCC. It was meant to be. This is more like a political theory than a conspiracy theory, to be fair, because there's actual stuff I can point to in this one. So if you recall, like a couple weeks ago at this point, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, Benny Gantz was at the White House meeting with Joe Biden. Were you like, remember that?
Yeah,
I remember that.
Like, yeah, he's like the biggest rival to Benjamin Netanyahu. He's the highest ranking member of like the rival party. And he's who would be in charge of Israel if it wasn't for Benjamin Netanyahu. They formed like a weird coalition government after the attacks on October 7th because like they didn't have a government because Bibi was so unpopular he couldn't form a government. Like everyone kind of forgets that. Like Benjamin Netanyahu was so unpopular prior to this attack that he wasn't able to form a government, and they were probably about to have elections again because they couldn't formulate a government, but they came together in a unity government to go after Gaza, which was fucking Bibi's wet dream come true because he's been wanting to destroy Gaza since, I don't know, he was 12 or something. Isn't that
really convenient?
Isn't it really convenient? Like, if you want to go to conspiracies, there's a path to go there. But this
I'm not. I don't call that a conspiracy. I call that a
conspiracy. Yeah,
I call that quite likely, and they have to prove otherwise.
That's fair. I'll go ahead and give you that. So what I think they're doing, and what I think Schumer is probably going to count on Biden taking advantage of, is that while Benjamin Netanyahu is here addressing Congress, Benny Gantz can be in Israel orchestrating the political takeover of the Israeli parliament that America's really good at doing. Like, we're really, really good at like moving actors around in other countries to make things happen that we want to happen. And we have a lot of people in Israel that do a lot for us on Benjamin Netanyahu's side, but also on Benny Gantz's side and also on other sides. So another thing you might be aware of, so there's like a timeline, right? So Benny Gantz meets at the White House with Joe Biden. Biden calls for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. Schumer calls for elections in Israel. And what you guys might not know, because I didn't know about the other thing, but Benny Gantz was in Canada meeting with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau 2 days ago.
I did not know that.
So that means that he's now the biggest political opposition to the currently contentious prime minister of Israel, funding and fueling a genocide, has now met with two of their country's largest political and or military allies, while one of them has openly called for new elections, and they're getting the prime minister out of Israel to talk to Congress, thus allowing for a potential coup to take place.
So I got it. I'm tying all of the conspiracies together here.
I'm so good at conspiracies.
This is totally going to happen, and we're going to fly Benjamin Netanyahu out on a Boeing plane.
that problem solved themselves.
And Kate Middleton is also going to happen to be on that plane.
On the same flight.
Plane goes down. Oh, it's Boeing's fault. And why did they kill the whistleblower? Because he found out about it.
He knew he was about to blow the lid off the whole thing.
It's all coming together.
You know what? That is a pretty little package, and I think
I like it. I like this a lot.
That's a TJ.
And in 1 hour and 2 minutes, we solved all the world's problems.
World hunger, it's all figured out.
It's gone.
TJ, what do you think? Do you think there's credence to Cannon's theory?
So here's what I had asked about Benny Gantz. I do remember when Benny Gantz was in Canada. Now, this, I don't know what his position is on the actual fight in Gaza, though. Like, is his position any different than that now? Because I'd be surprised if it was. But
it's different enough.
It's different enough. No, really. Go ahead.
He wants to put the rainbow flag on the bombs.
The worst part is that's kind of it. Like, it's not, but it is. He's one step closer to not crazy. He, like, whereas Benjamin Netanyahu is kill everybody or else, he is open to a two-state solution. He is open to an independent Palestinian territory. And I know it's not a perfect solution, but again,
it's a terrible solution. But it
must be really hard. It must be really hard for Israelis to live with only those two options, like literal Satan and
no, it's not. Like
99% Hitler.
The polls say that they're cool with it. Like if you look at the actual, it's horrifying. Like how bad the polls are.
I was more so just drawing the parallel to what's going on here.
Right.
It's
so
basically
what
the same thing.
So I think what they're trying to do is because Benny Gantz would honor a ceasefire. He would stop laying waste to civilians, and that's the better part, right? So are his politics on how to handle the long-term solution better? Not really. Are his politics on how to handle the short-term solution better? Definitely. And if we're playing chess, this is a chess move that needs to be made for a future chess move to be made.
Because that's what I was thinking, that I couldn't imagine that he was radically better. But if you offer him the deal that, look, we will back, your candidacy and your ascension to power on the condition that you put a stop to this mess that we're in right now, I can see him going along with that deal. And it would solve a lot of problems. It would solve. I mean, honestly, the main problem is like the death and destruction in Gaza. I mean, the other geopolitical stuff is secondary, in my opinion. But I wanted to mention something you brought up about the unpopularity of Netanyahu, because Netanyahu, a lot of Israeli citizens do, it reminds me of who we were, 15 years ago with the whole war on terror thing, just, radically in support of this death and destruction. But I remember it feels like 3-4 years ago, I saw the political trouble that Netanyahu was in. I was like, okay, that guy's gonna be gone in no time. And he kept sticking around. I was shocked that he was around this long. So I guess, last year, like you said, you guys said, he went for broke. Like, why not? Like things are falling apart now. I'm gonna do whatever I can. And this is a good moment to remind everyone that Benjamin Netanyahu grew up a couple miles from me
in Pennsylvania. Right?
Pennsylvania. He's just a dude from Philly, guys. But he's somehow risen to dictatorial status essentially in Israel.
Well, because obviously, a person of Jewish descent born in the Northeast United States has way more right to that land than a Palestinian whose family's been there for thousands of years. That just makes perfect sense, right? Because
obviously, TJ.
Because the nation of Israel was a nation until 586 BC. So it's been 2,500 years. But it all makes sense. Just think about it. And as far if this does work, our proposed theory here, and they do broker some way to put a stop to this, which they do want. This is when this first started, John and I, when we talked about this back in November and everything, and how there was a growing wave of people, not just on the left, honestly, just people like, hey, we need to do some of this, and we're talking how it would hurt Biden. And one thing that I said many times is I didn't think it would really hurt Biden unless it dragged out until late summer or something, and it just keeps dragging out. I don't think anyone, I don't think they plan on this lasting as long as it did. So they do need to do something. And the fact that you remember when Vice President Harris went out and said, we need an immediate ceasefire for 6 weeks. Yeah. And when that happened and everything. And so the fact that they capitulated even on that shows that they are kind of worried about it. But if whatever plan happens, whatever they plan to stop it, I can't remember what you said, Cannon, about the American, how we would dismiss the difficulties of trying to reconcile the fact that we give Israel $3 billion a year. We've been doing so for at least 16 years now. And who knows how many billions going back. But I wrote down when you said that Americans will have no problem forgiving ourselves. We absolutely won't. We won't think about it for 5 minutes. We're like, oh, it's over. And then just move on like nothing ever happened. And that's what it preemptively upsets me. My cat is knocking over water bottles. You guys hear it. Sorry. But that preemptively upsets me that I know it's going to be the same thing happened with the war on terror, that we have 1 million people dead since 2001, nothing to show for it. When we invaded Afghanistan in 2003, and by the time we pulled out 2 years ago, the Taliban had controlled more land than when we had gone in there. We lost, untold amounts of human beings and equipment and money, and we gives us no reckoning whatsoever. Like, yeah, whatever, mistakes happen. And that's the same thing's going to happen with Israel. And my heart is already broken for it already.
Yep, that's fair. I think you want a controversial canon statement?
Sure.
It's very controversial. It's very controversial. I think another part of how am I going to say this without getting myself canceled?
I will say thank you for taking the live. We appreciate it very much.
I think the reckoning that America needs to have is that our military is not as amazing as we think it is. We have been indoctrinated deeply to think the American military is all powerful. We have a gigantic military budget, and dollars spent versus quality $4. No, we're not getting our money's worth on the U.S. military, as evidenced by what TJ just said in Afghanistan. 20 years of military engagement in a country to be worse off than we started. I'm sorry, say the same to Iraq. How did we do there? Let's look at Vietnam. How did we do there? So we don't have a really good track record, and we forgave ourselves for Vietnam. We were napalming civilians, and we were like, yes, cool, whatever. We have somebody had put it to me perfectly once, that Americans have an over entitlement for an underappreciation of war, right? We feel overly entitled to bomb and destroy and conquer and command all over the world and have no idea what it means to do that. Right. We have every entitled feeling to Israel is our biggest ally, and we can give them money and we can tell them to do whatever they want. And we have no responsibility for how that plays out. Right. Which is where we are now. We have emboldened this country to have this kind of military might and power because we needed them as pawns back in the Cold War day. And when we got all into Afghanistan and Iraq, it was sort of like, all right, you're still our friend, but we don't really have time to babysit you. So you're good, right? We'll keep giving you check like a spoiled trust fund kid, just cashing the checks without any supervision. And by the time we left Afghanistan and Iraq, we checked in on our trust fund kid and said, oh, fuck, you're fascist now, right? And it happened right under our nose, and there's not a whole lot we can do. And we don't appreciate our responsibility enough to understand how to remedy our terrible influence on the world. We're the British Empire.
I do want to add that you are not the only person on this panel who has said that the military is not that impressive. I gotta say, I say this all the time. so
all right, good. I was worried. I was like, I feel like I'm gonna make them both mad at me now. I was having such a good time. Ooh,
no.
Good. Okay.
Well, actually, TJ, I want to know what you think about that. Because in my opinion, and you know better than I do, but in my opinion, I fucking hate the military. But
don't hold back. Tell us how you feel.
I feel like if we're judging this on a scale of who would win a war, we're still clearly number one, and there's a fucking 50 miles between us and number two. So because we are actively practicing constantly all the time.
Where's the proof of that?
And who else practices as much as we do?
So here's the thing. It's true that, on the old trophy case, it's looking kind of bare lately. I mean, yeah, okay, sure. We didn't do that great in Afghanistan or Vietnam, but or Iraq or anything, but
or.
But I'm sorry. Did you guys ever hear about a little place called Grenada? Last I checked, we kicked some serious ass.
Back in 1998 for 48 hours, we were the best.
I tell you what, Grenada, stopping the drug cartels or stopping not even the drug cartels, but really just anyone who was left of center in Nicaragua. I gotta tell you, in the 80s, if you were a small nation, no larger than, Massachusetts, we had your number. We had you good. But so this is something so John has asked about, how do I feel about the United States military? As someone who was there, I will say that the first thing I noticed, on a personal level, before I get to the geopolitical level, that I remember I was in the military more than 6 months, probably 3 months before I realized I expected soldiers in the military to be these people that would be awe-inspired. Everyone would be Steve Rogers, or at least a lot of people would be. No, it's just a bunch of assholes who want to be in charge. That's what it is. The second they get a shred of authority, they are going to turn into the biggest asshole you've ever seen. And that's a lot of them. And as far as our geopolitical stance, It is true. It is true that if we got into like a major conflict with a major nation, we would be favored, but that's not going to happen. Like if that's those days are long gone. And John's heard me give this example before, but we got high on our own supply with the military because we got used to conflicts from a bygone era. And the example is that, you know, we went up against like, you know, the British. Actually, it was mostly the French helping us out. Like they had the whole Navy and everything. I like how we take credit that a bunch of farmers, you know, with with no training at all, took down the Brits. No, come on.
No, Louis the 16th took down the
it was Lafayette, you know, commanded. Come on, get the fuck out of here. And then, you know, but anyway, we did have some, you know, some pretty impressive shit, you know, Spanish-American War, getting the Philippines and all that. But then the 20th century, the 20th century hit, and we came in the last 9 minutes of World War I to like tip the balance of power to our allies.
We won.
I know, right? And we all act like, you know, if you talk to your average Americans, like, yeah, we won 2 world wars back to back. No, we were in World War I for no joke, like 18 months or something. It was an incredibly short period of time, and it was important. We did provide fresh troops or whatever, but you know, the real loss and the blood and treasure and fighting was already done by the time we showed up. And
we were the relief pitcher, is how I teach my kids. We came in at the bottom of the ninth. We're the relief pitcher.
That's good. That's good.
We came in at the bottom of the ninth, right, with a fresh arm, so we could throw the fireballs to the tired batters, and that's how we won the game.
I like the relief pitcher now. That's perfect for
It's a really good one. Yeah,
it's really good. It's really good.
I'm a good teacher. Who knew?
I love that. This between the three, amongst the three of us, this is a humility-free zone. Like this is how we roll here. But and World War II came along. Granted, we did play a much bigger part in World War II. However, it's still not as big as we think it is, because if you talk to your average American, they act like, yeah, we took down the Japanese and the Germans. Have you ever heard of the Soviet Union? Like, have you ever seen like?
Thank you.
Yeah, like the Soviets took millions of casualties to take down the Nazis.
50 million Soviets died.
In wild shit. But you talk to your average American, nah, Band of Brothers. I watched it. Like we took down Hitler and everything. It's like, and it's not to say we didn't play an important part in that, but the Soviets were definitely like the major part of taking down Hitler. So you know, then we got that World War I victory, got that World War II victory. Korea, we don't talk too much about that one. Well, we kind of like kind of swept that to the side. But then we have the Cold War, and which wasn't a war really. I mean, it was like we had like little proxy wars, kind of like we're doing with Iran now. But then the Soviet Union falls. So for 100 years, in the 3 major conflicts in the American psyche, we had World War I, World War II, Cold War. We won all 3, and we got really good at fighting dragons, like these giant powers. That's what we thought. And since September 11th, now we're not fighting dragons anymore. We're fighting snakes, and we have a army fighting a dragon fighting army, and we've been sending them. I like the army fighting snakes though. The army fighting snake. It's like you ever seen Little Rascals, and they had that that tent with a 3-foot man-eating chicken. You remember that? That was pretty bizarre. But anyway. So we have this army that's been trained to fight dragons, and now it has to fight snakes. Turns out, different type of army, and we kind of suck at fighting snakes. Like we're not that great at it, but we still have enough dragon fighting power that the other dragons don't want to mess with us. So I think it is true that, you know, as of late, we haven't really been all that impressive. But if we ever get back in dragon fighting mode, we know we're set. And plus, the way the economy is shaped right now, with the interconnected world, that fight isn't going to happen. So that's my theory on it right there.
Well, I have things to say. So many things to say to that. May I? First of all, you're not wrong about like America's like perception of their wars versus what their actual was. Like we did not a whole lot. Like it was very clear. There's like primary source documents you can find that Hitler's camp was terrified when it was obvious they were losing the war, because like, to be fair, Hitler was self-aware enough to know he was losing the war, but he was basically saying that he hoped the Americans showed up because the Soviets were fucking crazy, right? Like Hitler's like, the Soviets will fucking skin me alive. The Americans will arrest me, right? So like he knew enough to know that, and that's why the Soviets were so successful. But the reason that nobody knows about the success of the Soviet Union and how powerful their military was is because of the Cold War. Because how do you fight an ideological war while giving your biggest enemy props for ending war. The reason that the American like mentality around the world wars is we won them both is because that was deep at the core of the Cold War era propaganda against the Soviets. Right? We can't be like, they saved the world from Hitler, but now we're the ones who you should listen to. We had to vilify them. We had to make them bad. We had to have been the ones that saved the Soviets from the Nazis, not the other way around. So that is
and to tie this all back and put a nice
the Kate
little
Middleton
bow
is
on
it
this
gonna
topic. No, actually, no. I was going to go back to Israel, but I actually had this thought like not too long ago. It's like I can't believe how coordinated our propaganda was that people who were literally fighting a world war with the Soviets on the same side would then become so prejudiced against them and be like, oh, their ideology is fundamentally evil, even though I was fighting alongside them 20 years ago. It didn't make sense to me. And like the only answer, because I genuinely don't think that if we had that same situation today, that would play out, because we have too much decentralized media. And that is the problem that we're seeing in Israel right now, and why I think that maybe I don't know if it'll work if we hang it all on Netanyahu, because to me, the worms are out of the can, like the toothpaste is out of the tube. A lot of Americans, probably over the age of 40, are going to go back to the way things were as normal. But I don't think the younger generation is going to forget this. And by the time Gen Z is running shit, I don't think we're allied with Israel anymore because of this. I don't know if they're going to forgive them. But yeah, that's my bow on it.
I don't know. I spend a lot of time with these kids, and I'll say to that, like, think back to the Bush era when we were all mad at George W. Bush. I'm sure this crowd all had friends that were like super duper anti-W, like activists, things of that nature, right? We hate the war, all of this. I'm never going to forgive them. Did they forget?
Bush, absolutely.
No, but that's the thing. But like that's different. Back then, the average, there were activists, but back then the average American was just fervently pro Bush and pro the war. Like the Bush wasn't getting worried about the 2004 election because he started. In fact, everyone rallied around the flag. Like that was a whole fucking thing in the 2004 election. Whereas in this election, the president of the United States is worried about the reaction to this war. And it's not even a war that we're in. So it's like, I do think that there's a different something in the air right now than there was during the Iraq thing.
I agree. I don't know because of how quickly it happened, because back in like October, November, there were still a lot. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, but the support for Israel was a lot bigger. And then as time went on, we found out more and more, like you said, with the mass communication media, a lot more people started falling away, even though there's been for like double all of our lifetimes of indoctrination about how Israel's the last great hope of the Mideast. And I think that, I mean, who knows what the future is going to hold, but I don't see us not being Israel's ally anymore in the future. But I do see like putting a leash on it. It's like, listen, there's only so much you can do now, which we haven't been doing at all. And that time, if it's not already here, it's coming pretty quick, where they're like, you're not going to be able to just do whatever you want anymore. Like you can still have your apartheid state. You can still have, your literal constitution saying that one group of people are entitled to be in power. You can do that, but you start, expanding this warfare into these two territories that aren't really part of your country and killing people. All right, we're gonna, put a hold on that. I think that's the best we can hope for the near future. I mean, who knows what's gonna go after that, but that'd be my guess.
I would see it like 1990s era Israel-American alliance, right? Where we were there and we had a lot more say in the room. One of my favorite stories about that era is like Israel was starting to push their luck there toward the end of the 1990s, right? And there was this moment with Bill Clinton where he was trying to negotiate. Because remember, they got really close to the two-state solution with Sharon and Arafat back in the day. And it was Ariel Sharon. It's always fucking Israel, isn't it? Always Israel that's like throwing actually. They were both a little bit, but whatever. He got so mad at Ariel Sharon in this one meeting that he slammed his hand on the table and said, "Who's the superpower here?" And I love that image of Bill Clinton yelling at Ariel Sharon, "Who's the superpower here?" But what I can see Gen Z doing is stepping into the role with a little bit more responsibility, the thing that we don't have, right? Like, is the global dynamic such that you can dismantle globalism? No, right? The interconnections of the economy, all of this stuff. Can you change America's geopolitical role on a dime? No, that will destabilize the world and create a lot of problems, right? And can you walk away from your alliance with Israel and just see what happens in the Middle East? Also no, right? Because you basically know that is like, if America is not involved, the Palestinians are dead. Right. We know that because Israel has enough power to do that because we gave it to them. Whoopsies, are bad. I can see Gen Z coming into power and saying, if this is the role that we have inherited in the world, we need to be more responsible in how we handle it. And I can see them approaching the alliances differently with different motivations. Because up until this point, America has, like, because of the Cold War, right? We needed to be the top dog. We needed to be the strong one, and everyone does as we say. They, I think, will take the leadership, but not the authority role. They will want to be who everyone goes to, but they won't want to be the boss. They will want to be guiders, like provide guidance to the world, provide channels for diplomacy. I think they'll be the FDR generation, is what I think. I think like the spirit of FDR lives in them in a way that they can recognize that some things are going to be gross and that you can't fix everything, but that you have a responsibility to make it as good as you can. Like that the world sucks. You can't make it perfect, but you can make it better. And I think that's the energy that they're going to pick up and run with. But I do think they'll get over this really quick. Like as soon as a new Taylor album drops or something, they'll forget all about Gaza. They're still 18, remember? They're fickle. Like, they're fickle. So that's it.
Cool.
That's good.
All right.
That's good.
That was a double, at the very least, TJ.
Yeah.
And honestly, we were talking about having like longer episodes, so maybe like we probably just talked for like
we talked for
40 minutes
30 minutes.
30 minutes. Okay.
It wasn't that bad, actually. Yeah.
But we should make this next one the last one because I do have a hard out at 8 today.
All right.
So we have Elon's got to be it.
Elon.
We can talk about Texas. There'll be another time to talk.
Yeah, about Texas ain't going anywhere. Elon, who knows though? I mean, who knows?
Elon's in his own world, you know.
Yeah, that guy is something else. Let's see. So 126. Okay. All right. I want to talk about Elon Musk a little bit. I'm sure you guys saw the interview he had with Don Lemon, and every bit of that was entertaining. Every bit of that was just so. I love
a word for it.
Word. It's so fun. It's so fun. And this is something we say about Elon Musk all the time. So I don't remember when I first heard about Elon Musk. It's been a long time, but I mean, I feel like it's been like 10, 12, maybe 15. I don't know. It's been a very long time, but I remember hearing what everyone else heard, that there's this guy called Elon Musk and he's this super genius and he's working on creating, driverless vehicles and spaceships and all this computer technology stuff. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. There's just some, genius guy out there working on, and that's all I thought. And I was like, oh, and then I heard he's really rich. I was like, okay, that makes sense. And what's wild about Elon Musk to me is that he could have let that be his legacy. He could have just stayed that way.
Let it alone.
Just like he already had the money. He had the recognition. He had the respect of most people. Like most people didn't, as much as, maybe he would have been looked down on more for being a billionaire now, but people wouldn't like despite. But then he decided to become a public figure. He decided to open his fucking mouth. And ever since then, he not only is he disproving the common knowledge that this guy's a genius, like you've never heard anyone dumber whenever he talks, but he's becoming a hated billionaire. Like you thought you hated Jeff Bezos, you thought you hated Mark Zuckerberg.
I'm pretty sure I do. I do.
You thought Bill Gates was as bad as no. Turns out it can get a lot worse. It can get a lot worse than that.
Imagine if Mark Zuckerberg owned a diamond mine growing up, or emerald mine growing up.
It's the thing, but see, here's the thing, like Mark. So you guys remember Mark Zuckerberg? I don't know if you remember this thing. He did this Facebook Live where he was smoking meats. Remember that when he was just smoking his meats? You remember that he kept saying he was smoking meat. All right, check it out. Folks, do yourself a favor. Do yourself a favor. And, yeah, I know. He kept saying, I'm out here just smoking meats. Just like not in a funny way, but he had like a meat smoker out there. And it was him and like his wife was in the video sometimes and their baby and two people who they hired to say they were his friends. And they were like hanging out and everything. And he was like the most bizarre, awkward person. Like you've seen, so imagine like a 2-hour video of him talking about barbecuing and everything. It was so off-putting and weird. And he realized, oh, okay, normal people find me kind of repulsive. So I'm just going to back off and just make a statement every now and then. Elon Musk does the exact opposite. And he made the hilarious error of hiring or allowing Don Lemon to interview him. And you have to wonder why he did this, because, and here's my guess on this, is that if you guys remember, Don Lemon was fired from CNN, I don't know, like this time last year. It's been a while. And he was fired because he kept making these statements that were just really bad. The first one I saw, unfortunately, was against Vivek Ramaswamy. And we are one of our least favorite people, Vivek Ramaswamy, but got to call racism when you hear it. But Don Lemon was talking to him and he said that, you're saying all these statements that are inappropriate and everything. He's like, and I'm a black person and you're like, what are you? What are you? I was like, bro, that's exactly what he's like. What are you? Or whatever you are is what he said. That was pretty bad. And then months later, he was talking about Nikki Haley and he mentioned that Nikki Haley was past her prime. And they're like, what do you mean she's past her prime? She's like barely 50 or something, or late 40s or something. Like that's pretty good years for politics. He goes, well, with women, like they hit their reproductive prime a lot before that. And the more he talked, the worse it sounded. And they ended up firing him.
That was so funny because there were so many outs that he could have chosen. He could have just been like, oh, I just thought that she was like much more eloquent 10 years ago. He's like,
or she peaked the governor of South Carolina, right?
Oh no, I want to make it clear. I think women are past their prime.
This is
if they can't shit out kids anymore.
Exactly. It's like it's the sexism. Just so we're clear, folks, it's the sexism. And so CNN fires him. Then here's what I think Don Lemon did, because I remember after that, Don Lemon started talking about how he didn't say the woke mob. He didn't necessarily say that, but he kind of hinted towards that cancel culture and people were being too politically correct and coming after him. And then he got this new gig, and Elon Musk said he partnered with him, whatever. And do we think that he like roped Elon in, pretending he would be like this right winger, and then that made Elon more comfortable to come in? Because I don't know how else. Oh, go ahead, John.
Well, so like the thing that confused me, like my number one takeaway. So yesterday we're talking about this, and I had only seen clips, and then I like watched like from the beginning today, and Elon. First of all, he has that like exchange with him where he's like says like, "Oh, you're on the left," and Don is like, "What makes you think I'm on the left?" And he's just like, I guess that's what people. I don't know. He's like, "Have you watched my show?" He's like, "Yeah, I mean, I've watched clips," and like it's like, so I don't think that was it. But Elon looked frazzled from the get go. Like I thought that the stuttering was because
that's how he is.
Asked some tough questions, but he looked uncomfortable sitting in that chair from the get-go. And it was I agree, it's very bizarre that he agreed to do this sit down and was immediately on the defensive. I don't know why that is, but who knows?
What'd you think, Cannon? What'd you think? What were your takeaways from the most eloquent speaker of our age, Mr. Elon Musk?
I am gonna say something controversial.
Oh, shocker, Cannon.
I know, because that's not something I do often. I think that reminding everybody that he is the Nepo baby of an emeralds miner from South Africa whose father supported the apartheid state of South Africa. I think he was uncomfortable because he was being forced to show respect to a black man. And he's never been forced to do that before in his life. And that's why he was immediately defensive.
That would probably explain it. I don't know how racist Elon is.
Like, I think I have an idea.
Are you sure, John? Are you sure, are you sure about this?
So, okay, let me defend that stance here. I feel like there's a lot of people who are very racist, and it's very apparent. Like Donald Trump is like, no, this dude's a fucking racist. It's so obvious he's racist. Elon Musk, if you didn't know his backstory, like I feel like I wouldn't just be like knee-jerk reaction, this dude racist, transphobic, fuck yeah. But like anti-immigrant, sure. But like racist, I've never like actually seen that come from him. And he has, and maybe I'm just missing it. TJ, I hope that you're about to come with a story that demonstrates his racism for me.
With Elon Musk, all right.
I'm not going to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I'm just surprised as someone who puts his foot in his mouth so often, if he was as racist as I think he probably is, How has he not like dropped?
Well, what I would reference with Elon Musk is that there was a lawsuit for Tesla with people calling black people the N-word, like on a constant basis or something. And Elon Musk did nothing about it. And they complained about it and he got sued for that. But what I would really point to is just his Twitter account. I mean, if you like, remember I mentioned like the Roman statue Twitter guys that are just absolute Nazi pages. And I think Don Lemon referenced this actually in the interview. Yeah. And it's all a bunch of race science people, all a bunch of black people have double-digit IQs. We can't trust them. Or what he talked about with, they're lowering standards for black doctors and black, just absolute nonsense. And people post this shit all the time. And Elon is always hyping these folks up. And you're right. He doesn't go out of his way to say that, this
he goes out of his way to say transphobic shit.
He does. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, he's more. But then that's kind of your standard conservative, though. Your standard conservative will feel a lot more comfortable attacking trans folks, and they'll have bigoted thoughts against different races, but they don't just say like, you're a thick-lipped menace to society, and so they're not going to say shit like that. So he's smart enough to do that. So he won't respond with, yes, we need to. Like, for example, he's always talking about, this is a good example. I like how I complimented myself. That's a good example, TJ. You're about to get, once again, humility-free zone. But he always talks about how it's really dangerous that human population is shrinking. Like he's always telling, we need to have more kids. I saw him on this podcast with a bunch of like 24-year-olds, and he's asking them, so you guys have any kids? Which it's just a weird thing for like a 50-year-old dude to be asking a bunch of guys have, like, you guys got any kids? He's like, no. And one of them was 30. He goes, man, you really need to have some kids. I have like 11 kids. And none of them said this out loud, but it's like, bro, yeah, you can afford 11 kids. You can afford 1,100 kids. These guys probably can't. But the thing is, like, the population is going down in white countries. That's where the population is going down. Yeah, like pretty much everywhere else, the population is actually rising. And that doesn't seem to, he's not cool with that. Like, and when he says that we need more people, he's saying we need more white people. Like that's like, it's like, it's not, he doesn't say it out loud, but that's the very obvious thing he's going for. Ken, I know you got something to say. He's like, you're like biting your tongue the whole time. Sorry,
because to me, Elon Musk is like, he's such an old-timey, old money billionaire that he like learned how to censor his racism because it's been unacceptable publicly to be openly racist for a very long time. So he's always, but he's like the king of the microaggression, right? Like his racism is very like just ingrained in him, so it just comes out, it oozes out of him to anybody who he's against, right? But it's probably easy, John, I don't mean to call you out here, but it's probably easy for like standard issue white dude to miss because you wouldn't notice those things because you've kind of grown up in the same culture where those things are just sort of forever present and they don't apply to you, so you wouldn't notice them. But TJ, I'm sure, it's half his personality.
It's like, it's, I don't know. It's just so, he was talking about, I hate so much that he kind of made his public image that, what did he say? I'm the left side of the right and the right side of the left and everything. It's like, no, come
you're just
on,
an
man.
idiot all around.
Exactly. That's absurd. And with the racism thing, Elon Musk is a good example of, Cannon mentioned how we need to reckon with some very uncomfortable realities about the United States of America. And one of which is that our military is not what we think it is. Well, the first thing is that it's not out defending freedom for everybody. Let's get that straight. That's not
the opposite.
So, but the other one is that I can't remember the name of TikTok. You guys know him if I saw his face, like creator, but he said something that really stuck with me. And I really want to give him credit for it. I'll probably remember it like tomorrow morning. But he said that the United States was not ready for a black president. It wasn't. And that's something very uncomfortable to think about because after the Trump's election was an immediate response to the election of Barack Obama. It was a definite backlash that how many times have you heard, and I think I've heard Elon say the same thing. That's why I started thinking about this, is that, I didn't have any problem with race, and the country was cool with racism, but it was Obama. Obama's the one who made us all, all divisive and everything, and brought race up. And that's why I support the Republicans. That's why I think Trump's got a good way to go, because like just something about seeing a black man in the office of the president of the United States really upset a lot of people, like more than I would have even guessed it did. And Elon's a great response to this. Like Elon's like, okay, I'm all for progress and everything, but let's make sure these folks are qualified. I mean, you go in to get a heart surgery, it's a black doctor. How do we know they're good to go? I'm just asking questions. I'm not saying it one way or the other. I'm just gonna, that's the kind of racism I get from Elon Musk. And it's really pernicious when he can spread it. And his minions aren't nearly as afraid of saying what they think because they're not him, but he's always, you know, reposting their stuff and just putting curious. I'll look into it whenever someone's talking about the knockout game or some nonsense like that. Yeah, that's what Elon Musk is like.
Yeah, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Ken.
I was gonna say to the Obama thing, he was good at his job, and that's what pissed everybody off. It wasn't that we had a black president; it was that we had an effective black president.
He didn't fall on his face like he
didn't fall on his face, right? Because what Obama did, and what his administration did, and what his presidency did, was blow up every single bullshit stereotype the right had leaned on about Black America, right? The fatherless families, the single mothers, the welfare people, all of the things that they point to, the uneducated, all of it, right? And he came in here well-spoken, like from raised by fucking Kansas white people, okay?
Ivy League graduate,
right? Who he got into that school not because of nepotism, not because of anything, and Michelle Obama too, right? Came from a poor neighborhood, built themselves up, Ivy League educated, lovingly married, like healthy, beautiful, their children healthy, beautiful. He was effective. Like he's deeply in love with his wife. Every single stereotype they had about black man in America, Obama blew up. And an entire generation of kids grew up not seeing black people as the stereotype that we were grown up to see black people as. They see a black person and they think Obama, they think president. And that's why they keep saying that we're losing the youth, because they lost the youth, because they can't sell the Black people are bad stereotype to a generation of kids who've only known an effective Black president, which is why they've gear shifted into transphobia, because it's easier to sell.
Yeah,
but easier to sell, but also not as effective.
Nowhere near.
Also not as
effective. Great.
Right.
Love to see it.
And that's what it is. And I think when they say, "Oh, well, it's Obama that did this," because it is, but it isn't. Like it's not Obama's fault. It's that because he blew up their propaganda, that means that they had to just devolve into just sheer anger and blind hatred, which is what they did. They didn't have anywhere forward to go, so they just devolved back to their 1950s selves.
Yeah.
And that's where we're at.
So speaking of, race and Elon, and that one of the things, and we've talked about several things that he's had, but another tirade that Elon has been against is DEI. Diversity, equity, inclusion. And that's been a big thing, especially on Twitter. And it's been a big thing in conservative circles. And one of the reasons that I was like, maybe it's because I'm a fucking privileged white man, but I also felt when I was seeing his anti-DEI shit, I didn't read it as racist. I read it as he's a billionaire. And obviously, because all the things that are going on with Boeing, a lot of it being associated with the airlines and like things falling out of the sky. It's like, it seems like they're trying to cover unsafe labor practices by blaming it all on DEI. And a lot of the fucking like racists in America will just go right along with that. Be like, yeah, black people flying planes. Of course, something's going to go wrong. But Don actually held him to this point. Did you guys see the part of the interview?
Yeah, I remember that part. Yeah,
and I actually thought it was excellent interview work. Where he just kind of lets, and we talked about this yesterday, TJ, where he kind of just asks the question and then lets Elon keep talking, and then Elon kind of like stops. And Don doesn't ask another question. And he's like, explain that more. And Elon's like, oh, I've never been asked a follow-up question before. And it really did I think Don did an excellent job of putting the entire fucking thing on, giving it what it deserves. Because he was like, oh, I'm just saying that if standards decline for DEI, then that would be a problem. And Don was like, yeah, but like they haven't declined.
Right. They've actually improved, all data suggests.
And Elon's like, but if they did, and he's like, yeah, but why are you if they murdered all of the people on the plane, that would also be bad. He didn't say that, but that would also be bad. And he held it to him. And I saw fucking it wasn't Ben Shapiro, it was the fucking hat guy, Tim Pool. And he quote tweeted and he was like, "Holy shit, Don Lemon doesn't know what a hypothetical situation is." And I'm like, you don't understand what a fucking normal question is, because like that's not the question. You can't just say hypothetically if this were to be bad. When you're asked the question, do you think this is bad right now? Like, this is such a dumb fucking response. And to like thump your chest of like, oh, Don Lemon's the idiot here. Like, it's such a smart person's idea, a dumb person's idea of a smart person's statement. And I guess that's what Elon Musk is.
Yeah, that is definitely what Elon Musk is.
Absolutely, yeah. And I saw that too, and it's just like, yeah, of course. If they let unqualified black people fly planes, we'd have more accidents. Yeah, no one disagrees with that. Like, there's zero people on Earth.
The black person part, because if you let unqualified white people fly,
I was going to say the same thing. I'm like, the same thing would happen. I'm like, I could put any color person with no experience in an airplane, and that airplane would likely crash. That would be a poor choice.
Conservatives are masters of making up fake scenarios in their mind and getting enraged about it. Like, that's the entire thing right there. It's like, oh my God, they're just letting, any woman operate on your brain. And then that's going to be catastrophic. And then when you get mad, oh, so you don't understand hypotheticals? Curious. Like, oh, get the fuck out. It's like talking to children. It's exactly like talking to children. And when you mentioned that's a great point about how Obama helped to put a huge dent into hundreds of years of anti-black propaganda and like what black people are capable of. And it also showed that they actually never cared about that shit in the first place when they elected Trump. This is my favorite thing about Trump is that not only, like we talked about with Pence and everything, how he's the shining example of what, so was Obama in a lot of ways. Like, Obama went to the same church for like decades and shit. Like, he's actually another example of that. But I always mention this, like, you guys heard this before, I'm sure, but could you imagine if Barack Hussein Obama had 5 children with 3 different women? Like, could you imagine what every Fox News segment would have been about for 8 years? It'd have been, like you said, poor example for black people, this breakdown of the black family. They would have never shut up about it. But Trump comes along, like, I guess it's fine. It's, okay, so you guys never gave a shit about that. Like, you just wanted to dunk on black people because it was fun to do. And that's it. That was an excellent point.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine said to me that Donald Trump is everything white America thought about black America.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, right? That's good.
That he is what they thought Obama would be, and Obama is what they thought he would be. But and they can't reconcile that in their brain, and it fucks with them so badly that they have to, sort of like why people defended voting for Nixon, right? Like, oh, I didn't know he was terrible, right? Like, they can't reconcile that they did something stupid. So they have to defend the stupid thing.
I was actually, when you guys were talking about, I would say there's a non-zero chance that like 20 years from now, Republicans are going to try and claim Obama.
So
I would say the Republicans won't exist 20 years from now, but I said that 20 years ago.
Well, I am. So, John, I know we've talked about this before, but what Cannon mentioned, where people like Nixon, I'm very interested to see how Republicans, because like, Republicans, like they're all like, oh, the Iraq war is a bad idea. No shame in it whatsoever. I'm interested to see a couple decades from now what Republicans will say about Trump. What they're going to say is like, well, I never supported him. Like, so you might, I have a sneaky suspicion that you're going to have a lot of people who claim to have never supported Trump at all. Yep. And to an extent, it'll be true because a lot of them will be dead. So a fair point on that. But, there still will be millions of people our age who did vote for him, who will still be alive. And they'll be, it's like, yeah, I'm going to dig into the social media here because I know a lot of you did. And they're going to be embarrassed about it. And they're not going to feel the least bit bad.
I know. I say 20 years from now, it'll be hard pressed to find a Trump voter.
All right, that was good stuff. So we have exactly 3 minutes left. We got to do the bumper. We got to do the.
So Ken, we got this other thing we didn't prepare.
I told you.
You told her about the bumper. Okay.
Yeah. So it's, but
maybe you did, and I forgot because I tend to forget things.
So I'm just going to say a little thing, and then I'm going to throw to you, and you're going to be like, I'm going to be like, yeah, and this is our guest. She'll tell you where you can find her.
I'm terrible at this. So when I do this badly, just everybody have a good laugh about it because
we
famous for how bad I do.
We have fun with it. We have fun with it. Yeah.
All right.
I suck at these. Okay, I'm ready.
So do I. So do I. So that's why I'm still very. That's why John starts it because I'm very bad at it. So
I'm a person. I do things.
All right, guys, you made it to the end of the episode. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for watching this whole time. The algorithm really likes it. The algorithm also likes when you like and subscribe, and also when you comment about how stupid Elon Musk is. That's very important. So, and after you do that, you should also find our guest and comment on her videos about how stupid Elon Musk is. So, Cannon, how about you tell everyone where they can find you?
I'm you'll more likely find me on TikTok. That's where most of my followers are. So I'm at Cannon Spotter. On Instagram as well, at Cannon Spotter _TT or no _IG because it's Instagram. I'm terrible at telling people who I am. I also have a podcast. It's called Just Buy Less Coffee, answering the deeper questions of American politics. And my co-host is Troy Matthews. You can find him at Keep Troy Blue. And he writes for Midas Media. He's one of their staff writers there as well. So he writes about Elon Musk being stupid quite often. So you'll be able to find plenty there. But yeah, that's where you can find me. That's what I do.
Thanks so much, Kathy. We really appreciate it. We appreciate you coming here all the way from the British Isles. We loved hearing everything you had to say. Folks, go follow her, follow Troy, follow John, follow myself. Our handles are down there, and do it, or we'll make fun of you the same way we make fun of Elon Musk.
And John's gonna go dig into Kate Middleton conspiracies now.
Oh yeah, I don't even have a heart out. I just got to go dig into the conspiracy.
Where is Kate?
So that was some wild shit, though. I am very glad we talked because I didn't know anything about that, and the more I learned, the better.
I was literally
TikTok algorithm tonight is going to be wild.
When we were thinking about